Hello, my friends, and welcome to Typhoon Wednesday. You are looking out at the tail end of Typhoon Podul. It was big enough that my city, Chiayi, as well as other cities in the surrounding area, have canceled work. They've canceled classes. So unless you work in perhaps McDonald's or 7-Eleven, you got a day off. Now, a month ago, I did a typhoon video where we had the largest typhoon Chiayi City has ever seen, and that caused a lot of devastation. In fact, when I left to America, they still hadn't cleaned up the wreckage, and it's still not back to 100%. And I didn't take that typhoon seriously. My scooter got tipped over, and it's got scratched. And so this typhoon, I took it a little more seriously, actually paid attention to my girlfriend who always warns me about weather, but this one was lackluster. This one was one of those ones that you might let your guard down in the future, but you still do have to be careful. Now, this is in Chiayi City. Perhaps in other places like Taiwan or Tainan, they got a lot more. But what you just saw right outside as you looked out at my beautiful big balcony by Taiwanese standards, there wasn't much worse than that. A little more rain, but not that much rain. A little wind, but not that windy. And you know what? I'm gonna have a beer to celebrate the end of the typhoon. And because I'm stir crazy, I actually went outside, went walking around, even took a scooter ride, just because I can't stay inside all day. Just like I can't stay sober all day, all right? Life gets too boring when you're alone. And please don't feel bad. And don't say, oh, Ryan, they're there. We're all here for you. And I appreciate you being there for me. Please give me a thumbs up. But I am still off of work. I don't go back to work until next Monday. So I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so in 5 days, I go back to work for a new school year. So I guess, and this week, although I've got nothing much to do, if you can see, I've got sort of a barren wall there in my little kitchen area. This is a studio apartment, by the way. I will be giving you a tour soon. I've been rearranging things, and I've ordered a new piece of furniture, a little cutting island, because I don't have a proper place to cut stuff. I've been using a table, which I moved over here. Ordered that from IKEA, should be picking it up on Friday. My girlfriend has been very free this week, which was perfect timing. So I've been hanging out with her every day. However, she couldn't come over today because even though there's not a lot of wind, even though there's not a lot of rain, you know, Taiwanese families, like all families care about your safety. Families will criticize you if you do anything too risky, but Taiwanese families are even more so, I would say, than Americans. And she lives with her family, and her family, she just, you know, if she took her child and drove over here, she'd probably eat a lot of shit when she got back. So anyways, and sometimes I need a day off, right? Okay, why has she been so free? Her son, pretty much like my stepson, this little guy, Tsai Tsai, has started his school career. So a lot of the kindergartens started this week, and so he's 2.5 years old, gonna be 3 this November. He started his first day of school. He'll be going to school now for a long time. Something she was worried about, something her family was pushing her to do, and they paid for his kindergarten to send him to one of the nicest kindergartens in the city. And something I was worried about, but so far, you know, he had Monday, Tuesday, and then today he had it off for the typhoon. So far, so good. He's one of the most stable, emotionally stable children, according to the teacher's reports. And so my girlfriend, who's been a full-time mommy for the past 2.5 years, has been free this week, helping me pick out furniture, helping me with a lot of things. and also just fun to hang out with. But she starts a job, her first job in quite a while. She has worked in the coffee shop. She's worked at a cafe before. She's worked at a movie theater before, like back in college. But, and she helps out at the cookie shop where her family operates a business, but she will be starting back in like the workforce in the city this Monday, the day I go back to work. So sort of good timing. We get to spend most of this week, barring this Typhoon Podul day, together. Yeah, I don't know why I was talking about that. So how do I feel about going back to work, huh? How do I feel? So I will be going back to the same school I worked at last year. So there's a lot less unknowns. I worked my first year of teaching English in Taiwan, in Taoyuan, 1 year, then 1 year in Kaohsiung, and then the last year in Jiayi City. And my fourth academic school year here in Taiwan will be also at the same school in Jiayi City. A lot less unknowns. But of course, there will be new blood in the ranks, some office rearrangements, you know. Sometimes the directors will transfer offices, sometimes, and in the head of the whole English and international department at our school, although it's a pretty small department, we only have 245 students. The head of that will be a new person, because the woman I worked with last semester, basically my school coordinator, my immediate supervisor, she wanted to move back to Taipei, and so she made an arrangement with a school that had a teacher that wanted to come down here because her husband works here. And so basically, it's a lot of people want to be teachers in Taiwan, and the way to just become a teacher is to be a temporary substitute teacher where you just work sort of year by year. But if you want to be a tenured teacher, you got to go through these really rigorous examinations and tests. And then once you pass and you get into a school, you've got that job for life. You're not going to be fired. Your salary will steadily increase. But, you know, also, you might get stuck at a school you don't like, or your husband moves to another city. And there's a lot of teachers in all the schools that I've worked at, a lot of local Taiwanese teachers who don't want to work where they work. They don't like their director, or they don't like something, or they want to move, but they're sort of stuck there, and you have to sort of look for opportunities. She was lucky, my last coordinator. She was lucky because she wanted to go to Taipei, and there happened to be a woman who wanted to come to Jiayi City because her husband's here. So I'll have a new boss. And so how's that going to go? My last boss was really chill, really talkative, very loud during lunchtime, although she's been nothing but good to me. I actually have to thank her for my contract that I will have this year, which is a very good contract for me. Got a lot of the stuff that I wanted. However, I was informed last week or a week ago, there's some things they want to change, even though we've already had a signed contract. And this is one of the things that I mentioned about contracts in a video I made, I don't know, a couple months ago, is, you know, nothing's settled until you sign the contract. And then even after you sign the contract, nothing is actually really settled, okay? So my school basically, I don't actually want to get into specifics too much. It's not a big deal, but basically my school wants to change something about when my salary goes up. Make a long story short, I'll lose 1,700 new Taiwanese dollars with this change, which is, you know, about 80, 90 bucks US, which isn't a lot of money. And I wouldn't create a fuss. However, I just don't like that type of shit. I don't like people changing things the last minute. I sat down, had meetings, and we settled on this, but they've promised to make it good. And this school, the reason I'm going back is they've always been good on their word. And so I will see how that goes. They promised to make it up by finding other creative ways to make up that money lost. Yeah, so I'm excited. I will be teaching PE. So that's what I did last year. And one of the problems I had with PE last year, I probably talked about this a little on the channel, is I felt sort of unused in a way, you know. It was their first time doing a bilingual PE thing, first time having a foreign English teacher in the PE program. And I had 3 co-teachers. One of the co-teachers, me and him really did quite work well together, and I was able to teach jiu-jitsu, teach soccer, teach capture the flag, some of the things that I like to do. But with the other co-teachers, they're sort of more older, senior ones, I was a little less used, and I felt unfulfilled after a lot of my days, to be frank, even though I didn't have much work to do. So I sort of stipulated, because they wanted me to come back, begged me to come back, and I wanted to come back as well, but I wanted to make sure that I would have the freedom to do more teaching, because, you know, even though like a lot of people like, oh, you're so lucky, right? You don't actually have to teach that much. Well, that's true, but actually I feel better when I come home after a day where I actually did teach. So I want to do some more teaching because I'm a teacher and I like it. You know, I'm not just doing this for all the cash, although it's not a lot of cash, but for local standards, it's not bad. So I'll be doing that, and I've gotten some assurances, and I'll be setting the schedule. So I plan to teach jiu-jitsu, I plan to teach soccer, capture the flag, and I would like to teach American football, actually, like two-hand touch. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to work all of that out, and that will just be across the board with all of my co-teachers. I will also be teaching a club, English drama. So that'll be interesting to see what students I have in that class, because the club class is the only class that I have for 2 hours every week, or 2 class periods, and it's more intimate and it's more free and no co-teacher. So I end up becoming much closer to those students than I do my normal other classes. And then another interesting thing, I'm supposed to be teaching bi-weekly a conversation/listening class for the 9th graders. I teach at a junior high, by the way, and junior high is 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Usually, most foreign English teachers will not be teaching 9th graders, because 9th grade is the year that the students have the most work and the most pressure to pass their high school entrance examination. And so they're not really caring about them getting like more practice with a foreign English teacher. As useful as that is, it doesn't actually help their test scores. What they're doing is just cramming, studying how to beat the test. But I work at an experimental school, and so they decided to give me all of the 9th grade classes every other week. And I have a feeling that some of the 9th grade parents who will be 9th graders this year on the PTA, which is a very powerful entity at the school, I have a feeling that those parents really wanted me to teach their kids, because I had a good relationship with some of those students. Okay. And yeah, so that, and it will be interesting to see if, and that's what we agreed on before I signed the contract, but it will be interesting to see what my schedule actually is when I go to work next week. Yeah, you know, there's always surprises, but you know, one of the benefits of coming back to the same school is less surprises. I will have a new computer that I will be bringing with me, a new laptop, which should make, you know, lulls in my day better. I plan to do a lot of exercise. I don't know if you can see, I've got some weights down there, kind of hard to see, but I've been trying to rebuild. I'll be doing another video on my shoulder recovery very soon. So yeah, I'm excited to go back to work, actually. Although if you gave me more vacation, I wouldn't cry. And I mentioned this in a video a couple weeks ago, is even though I go back to work on the 18th, I think it's not until the 28th that the students come back and we actually teach classes. So there's a nice adjustment period there. And one nice thing about this year is that because I was in Taiyuan, then Kaohsiung, then Jiayi, around this time I was frantically searching for apartments, coordinating with movers, packing boxes, saying goodbyes, and I don't have to do that this year, which is marvelous. So all in all, pretty chill, but you never know, man. My life so far has had a lot of turbulence. Mostly good, which is why I'm still here, and we'll see how it all goes. And I'm excited to find out how my girlfriend's new work life is gonna be, as well as how her son adjusts, because they're the closest people in my life here in Taiwan. And I should say she specifically chose jobs based on how close they were to my apartment. So I should be seeing her a lot more. And I'll be seeing you guys a lot more. And I'm gonna be showing her more because now she's over her shy phase. She's ready for the camera. Not really, but it's just happened. All right, thank you guys so much. Please give me a thumbs up. I will see you next time. My name's Ryan. Good luck to all of you teachers out there who are preparing. Bye-bye.